Hi, it's Lina Borja here again, and today we're going to talk about a very sensitive topic for me, and I hope it is for you. And I decided to title this short infographic by Way to Deadline. So, in order to introduce you to this topic, I'm going to ask you something. How broken do you think life is? I mean, I I am pretty aware that that every day that every day someone dies, you know. And I think it's important that we all understand that there is a lack of respect for life, you know. And in order to give some sense to this idea, I'm gonna make another question. Why humans choose violence? Why do you think humans choose violence? So, is it natural? I mean, we are born being violent. To say that violence is a natural behavior is ambiguous. If it were, all people in the world would be violent and our coexistence would be impossible, just like our existence. There are some experts who claim that vain violence is an acquired characteristic, as certain circumstances in our lives represent a decisive factor of trauma or pain. However, what does being violent bring us? I mean, um, is there any benefits? Are there any benefits? Is it good? Is it wrong? Um, is there something positive in all of this? So before we answer these questions, and maybe we can answer them because they're kind of complex. I'm going to give you some previous information respect of violence because it's not only murder, any way of torture is considered violence. So just to keep in mind, when talking about violence, we are not solely referring to the plain action of hitting someone or killing them, you know. The World Health Organization, by its initials WHO, defines violence as the intentional use of physical force, threats against oneself, one another person, a group, or a community that has as a consequence or is very likely to have as a consequence trauma, psychological harm, developmental problems, or death. In light of this, there are countless ways to be violent. And even if there weren't, humans seem to have a baffling creativity to be engineers of violence. So as I said before, um, we all don't born being violent, but from childhood we can be violent. So there is an importance of being mental stable in childhood. Being young, being violent. Tracing the genesis of violence in human beings is not a guarantee that, as some neuroscientists claim, there exists a violence area or a violence gene. In this sense, it is important to highlight family dynamics from childhood, as this is when individuals are most vulnerable to suffering some form of brain damage that may lead to the development of violent tendencies in adolescence and adulthood. So, how do you ensure that your children do not become violent? I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say, and it's hard to think about such an idea. But I'm going to give you two examples of young people being violent. So first we got Morgan Gazer and Anissa Weyer, both 12 years. They stabbed Peyton Lutner 19 times in a forest in Wisconsin. Another example, Gis Painroy, 14 years. Pemroy abducted and tortured 8 children under the age of 10. Following that, he killed an 11-year-old girl and then a 4-year-old girl baby. Um, we can say or we can think how how these people can do this. I mean, um, it is it is said that it's important that we protect ourselves from any kind of any kind of violence, any kind of pain, any kind of like harm. And when I say it's important to highlight family dynamics from childhood, is that um, children has this mental system like that they copy and paste everything they see. So so for example, if your family is too violent with you, where when you are I don't know 5 years old, then when you are a teenager, then you can have this kind of behaviors with other people or even with yourself. So this is when I like to highlight the importance of being mentally stable in childhood. Not I'm not saying that children needs to be the children need to be mental stable, but their family, like their parents themselves. So I'm gonna make another question, and I am very sure that you have thought about this once in your life. What gives these people satisfaction? I mean, what are their motives? Is it pleasure? Is it for money? Is it a kind of I don't know, experiment? I don't know. Let's see. So the satisfaction that violent individuals derive can come from various sources, depending on individual circumstances and the motives behind their behavior. For example, some exert violence to demonstrate power dynamics. I mean, I want to feel like I am bigger with you, that I am bigger than you, then I'm gonna be violent with you, you know? Others do it for simple pleasure, feeling that they release um, negative emotions into others. In other cases, it may be due to a need for revenge, to mete out justice by one's own hand, and also as a method of self-defense in situations when we feel vulnerable and powerless. But even if it sounds kind of rational, um, um, it's clear that this is not the those aren't normal behaviors. I think I know some people may think if and I've heard some martyrs saying this. It's a thing of point of view. It's a thing of decision. You can say that violence is good as you can say violence is bad, it's wrong. That it's a kind of perception, it's a kind of the definition you have of violence. But what is most important here is the right to life. When life stopped being important, the right of to life is lost. you know and I think that this affirmation, like this sentence, will give you an answer to how broken life is. I'm going to show you some statistics data. So just to give you a dimension, every day, whether we are aware of it or not, deaths occur around the world caused by humans toward other species, I'm sorry, or themselves. The numbers appears to be larger as the population constantly grows along with advancing technology, science, and the social conflicts that afflict us every day. So our first example, 52 people lost their lives to homicide every day, every hour worldwide during 2021, according to a UNICEF report. 2021 was an exceptionally deadly year with 458,000 deaths, a surge linked in part of the economic consequences of the COVID-19 and an increase in organized crime and social-political and gang-related crimes, like violence in general. So another statistics, it is estimated that over 10,000 people are kidnapped every year, often with fatal and devastating consequences. Each case of kidnapping is not only a serious crime, but also a critical incident and a threat to life. Have you have you ever, I don't know, the think about those families who are um who are fighting for that are fighting pain of losing someone, like, and when I say losing, I'm not referring that person died. It's just they're lost. And it's like, I know you're here in this world, but I don't know exactly where you are. It's it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy and creepy to think about this that idea. In the WHO, World Health Organization, multi-country study between 0.3% and 12% of women reported being forced after the age of 15 to have sexual intercourse or to engage in a sexual act by someone who was not their partner. Other statistics show that rates of women reporting that their first sexual encounter had been forced varied from less than 1% in Japan to almost 30% in rural areas of Bangladesh. This is this is chaotic, and this is shocking in the way we hear some data, some numbers, some information, but I think we cannot dimension how huge this problem is. Just to give you another statistics, the numbers overshadow any other statistic related to animal exploitation and abuse. In the United States, only over 56 billion animals are killed to produce meat. This figure does not include hens or dairy cows. This figure does include the over 46 billion fish and 8.6 billion chickens exploited and slaughtered. And we are talking about domestic animals, like like chickens, cows, hens. But what about dogs? What about rabbits? What about any other animal? um, um, who was killed by someone, by a human being. It is sad. I'm not gonna lie. It is sad because humans can't coexist with themselves, and neither with animals, neither with nature. You know, I think it's an aggressive affirmation. It's like I don't know how I can even say this without feeling shocked. And as I said, I am just giving you some numbers. I am not giving you explicit content here. And you still feel shocked. And you say, how? How is this possible? How? So I'm gonna ask you again. Is life important to you? I mean, life is important for me. I don't know for you. It may be, I hope. So, just to give you a brief conclusion and a reflection made by myself, I want to close this topic with this short quote from Miguel de Unamuno that goes like this. And what is the right to life? They tell me that I have to come to fulfill some social end, but I feel that I, just like each other of my brothers, have come to fulfill myself, to live. Remember what I asked you before? How broken life is, how broken your life is. How do you survive in this world? So take a moment to think about um, those people you don't know, but who are surely being tortured, robbed, murdered, beaten. Consider that in the most remote corner of the world, the greatest depravity is taking place and you are unaware. Think about the times, if you are a believer, you pray to God for one more day of life, while there are people who don't even have the privilege to live their early years because someone else has snatched away their integrity. Ponder on how shattered our mentality, our straight, and our will is, and how corrupt our society is to normalize such behaviors, you know, that not even justice is able to stop. Do you value your life? Do you value someone else? Are you broken inside to be forced to break someone else? This is a path toward death. This is way to deadline. Thank you for paying all your attention to this topic. I hope it was very interesting for you. I know I made so many questions, but I think it's very important that we wonder once in our life the things that happen around us and we are not aware of it. So I hope to see you next time. Bye.